The Peterson family had been planning their Columbus Day weekend trip to Shenandoah National Park for months. Mark Peterson, a 42-year-old accountant from Richmond, Virginia, had promised his wife Linda and their two kids, Ma, 14, and Tyler, 11, a weekend of hiking in fall foliage that would be Instagram perfect. "Dad, can we go to Dark Hollow Falls first?" Emma asked from the back seat of their Honda Pilot as they drove through the winding mountain roads on October 12, 2013. She was clutching her new disposable camera, determined to document every moment of their trip without relying on her phone. "We'll see all the waterfalls, sweetheart," Linda replied, consulting the park map. "We have 3 days to explore everything." Mark had booked them a cabin near Luray, just outside the park boundaries. The plan was simple: spend Columbus Day weekend hiking the most scenic trails, take family photos at Skyline Drive overlooks, and return to Richmond with memories that would last a lifetime. Their first stop was the Dickey Ridge Visitor Center, where they picked up trail maps and spoke with Ranger Patricia Coleman about the best routes for families with children. "The leaves are at peak color right now," Coleman told them. "You've picked the perfect weekend." The family spent the afternoon hiking the Fox Hollow Trail, where Emma used up half her disposable camera film, taking pictures of the brilliant reds and golds of the autumn forest. Tyler collected interesting rocks while Mark and Linda enjoyed the crisp mountain air and peaceful surroundings. At 4:30 p.m., they decided to drive to Stony Man Summit for sunset photos. It was the last time anyone would see the Peterson family alive. When the Peterson family failed to check out of their cabin on Tuesday morning, the property manager drove over to investigate. She found their luggage still in the rooms, Tyler's Nintendo DS charging on the nightstand, and Emma's makeup scattered. Across the bathroom counter, as if they had been planning to return that evening, their Honda Pilot was discovered 2 days later in the parking area at Stony Man Summit, locked and undisturbed. Mark's wallet was in the glove compartment, Linda's purse was on the front seat, and Emma's cell phone was plugged into the car charger. "It's like they just vanished into thin air," explained Detective Sarah Mills of the Virginia State Police to the gathered search teams. No signs of struggle, no indication they were planning to leave permanently, no witnesses who saw them after. 4:30 p.m. on Monday. The search for the Peterson family became one of the largest in Shenandoah National Park's history. Over 200 volunteers joined park rangers, state police, and FBI agents in combing through miles of wilderness. Search dogs picked up scent trails that led to various overlooks and then simply disappeared. "The terrain here can be deceptive," explained Park Superintendent Robert Hayes during a press conference. "There are unmarked trails, old logging roads, and areas where visitors can easily become disoriented. But we've searched every accessible area within a 5-mile radius of their last known location. If you've made it this far, chances are you're just as captivated by the Peterson family's vanishing as we are. These stories aren't just tales, they're real, they're haunting, and they still demand answers. So if you're drawn to true mysteries that remain unsolved, do us a favor. Click that like button, subscribe to Gone Cold, and join a growing community that refuses to let the forgotten stay buried." Mark's brother David flew in from California to coordinate with the family's private investigator. Linda's sister organized social media campaigns that generated thousands of shares and tips, but none led to any concrete leads. The case attracted national media attention when it was featured on America's Most Wanted and several true crime podcasts. Theories ranged from a hiking accident to abduction, but the complete lack of physical evidence baffled investigators. After 6 months of searching, the case was classified as a missing persons investigation with suspected death by misadventure. The Peterson family was declared legally dead after 7 years, but their disappearance remained one of Virginia's most puzzling unsolved mysteries. 10 years after the Peterson family vanished, college student Jake Morrison was completing his senior thesis research on invasive plant species in Shenandoah National Park. On a humid September morning in 2023, Jake was documenting understory vegetation in a remote section of the park when something unusual caught his eye. Wedged between 2 fallen logs, partially buried under a decade of leaf litter, was a small yellow object that clearly didn't belong in the forest. Jake carefully extracted what appeared to be a disposable camera, the kind that had been popular before smartphones became ubiquitous. The camera was a Kodak funsaver, weathered but remarkably intact, despite years of exposure to the elements. The plastic casing had faded from bright yellow to a dull mustard color, but the internal mechanism appeared undamaged. "That's impossible," Jake muttered, turning the camera over in his hands. According to the expiration date printed on the back, the film inside had expired in 2014. More intriguingly, the counter showed that 23 of the camera's 27 exposures had been used. Jake's first instinct was to take the camera to park headquarters, but something made him hesitate. He'd grown up in Virginia and remembered the Peterson family case from news reports when he was a kid. Could this camera possibly be connected to the famous disappearance? He photographed the exact location where he'd found the camera, carefully documenting the GPS coordinates and surrounding terrain. The area was at least 2 miles from any marked trail, in a section of the park that would require serious bushwhacking to reach. When Jake finally brought the camera to park ranger Michelle Torres, her reaction confirmed his suspicions. "We need to call Detective Mills immediately," Torres said, her face pale as she studied the camera. Emma Peterson was carrying a disposable camera the day her family disappeared. Within hours, the camera was on its way to the FBI forensics lab in Quantico, Virginia. The film inside might hold the key to solving a mystery that had haunted investigators for a decade, or it might raise even more disturbing questions about what had happened to the Peterson family in the mountains of Shenandoah National Park. FBI forensic specialist Dr. Rachel Chen had seen thousands of pieces of evidence during her 15-year career. But the film from Emma Peterson's camera presented unique challenges. After 10 years of exposure to moisture and temperature fluctuations, most of the emulsion should have degraded beyond recovery. "It's remarkable that anything survived," Dr. Chen explained to Detective Mills as they waited for the development process to complete. "The camera's sealed design and the plastic canister protected the film better than we expected. We should be able to recover at least partial images from most of the exposures." When the first photos emerged from the chemical baths, Mills felt her heart race. The early images showed exactly what she'd expected: a happy family enjoying their Columbus Day weekend. Emma had documented their arrival at the park, shots of Tyler posing with trail markers, several family selfies at scenic overlooks. But as the photos progressed chronologically, something disturbing became apparent. The later images showed the family in locations that didn't match any known trails in Shenandoah National Park. These rock formations, Dr. Chen pointed to photos 15 through 18. They don't appear on any geological surveys of the area. And look at this. Vegetations. Some of these plants aren't native to Virginia. Photo 19 showed the family standing in front of what appeared to be a cave entrance, but Mark and Linda's expressions had changed from joy to confusion. Tyler looked frightened, clinging to his mother's arm, while Emma had positioned herself protectively in front of her little brother. Photos 20 and 21 were the most disturbing. They showed the interior of what appeared to be a large underground cavern, with Emma's camera flash illuminating strange symbols carved into the rock walls. The symbols weren't Native American petroglyphs or any known form of writing. They appeared geometric and purposeful.
"How bodily alien."
"My God," Mills whispered, studying photo 22. "They went underground. But there are no known cave systems in that area of the park." The final developed photo, number 23, was a blurry image that appeared to show figures moving in the darkness beyond the range of Emma's flash. The shapes were humanoid but seemed wrong somehow, too tall, too angular, moving in ways that suggested they weren't entirely human. Detective Mills' investigation into the cave system led her to Dr. Michael Torres, speleologist from Virginia Tech, who had spent decades mapping the underground geology of the Blue Ridge Mountains. When she showed him the photos, his reaction was immediate and alarming. These formations matched descriptions from classified geological surveys conducted in the 1960s. Dr. Torres explained, pulling out files that had been sealed for decades. The Army Corps of Engineers discovered extensive cave networks throughout this region, but the findings were suppressed for national security reasons. The classified documents revealed that during the Cold War, the government had mapped underground systems that could potentially serve as fallout shelters or strategic storage facilities. But the surveys had been abandoned when mapping teams began reporting anomalous findings. and several geologists had psychological breakdowns after extended periods underground. "What kind of anomalous findings?" Mills asked, though she suspected. She already knew the answer. The official reports mentioned non-natural formations and evidence of long-term habitation by unknown parties, Dr. Torres replied. But the really disturbing part is in the personnel journals of the survey team members. They wrote about finding symbols carved into cave walls, tools that didn't match any known human technology, and encounters with entities that shouldn't exist. Mills felt pieces of a larger puzzle beginning to connect. Could a family get lost in these cave systems? Lost? Yes, but these weren't random caves. According to the reports, there were signs that something had been using these underground networks for a very long time. The survey teams found what appeared to be living areas, food storage chambers, and passages that had been artificially expanded using techniques that predated modern excavation methods. Dr. Torres pulled out a hand-drawn map from 1963. The entrance the Peterson family found matches the location of Survey Point 7, which was sealed by the Corps of Engineers after 3 team members disappeared during their final expedition. The sealed entrance wasn't on any current park maps, but Dr. Torres had the original coordinates. When Mills compared them to the GPS location where Jake Morrison had found the camera, they were less than 500 yards apart. "We need to reopen that entrance," Mills decided. "If the Peterson family is down there, they might still be alive." The expedition to locate and reopen the sealed cave entrance required coordination between multiple agencies. The FBI, Virginia, State Police, National Park Service, and a specialized cave rescue team assembled at the coordinates Dr. Torres had provided. It took 2 days of careful excavation to remove the concrete and steel barriers that had sealed the cave entrance for 60 years. When they finally broke through, a rush of stale air emerged that carried an odd metallic smell mixed with something organic and unpleasant. "Temperature inside is holding steady at 54 degrees, reported cave rescue team leader Captain James Wright as his team prepared their equipment. "The quality is breathable, but shows unusual mineral content. We're detecting electromagnetic anomalies that are interfering with our radio equipment." Mills insisted on joining the initial descent despite having no cave experience. Something about Emma's photos had convinced her that this wasn't just a search and rescue operation. It was the key to understanding a mystery that went far beyond one missing family. The first chamber they entered matched exactly what Emma had photographed. The carved symbols covered the walls in intricate patterns that seemed to shift in the beam of their flashlights. But what the photos hadn't captured was the sheer scale of the underground complex. "This isn't natural," whispered Dr. Torres as they moved deeper into the cave system. These passages were carved by something with advanced engineering knowledge. The ventilation system alone would require technology we didn't have in the 1960s. They found evidence of the Peterson family throughout the first level. Tyler's Pokemon cards, scattered near what appeared to be a sleeping area. Shreds of fabric from Linda's jacket caught on rock formations, and most disturbingly, Emma's backup camera film canisters arranged in a precise pattern near a natural spring. But the family themselves remained elusive, footprints in the caves. Sandy floors led deeper into the mountain, following passages that descended at impossible angles and seemed to continue far beyond what any natural cave system should contain. "We're not alone down here," Captain Wright reported as strange echoes began reverberating through the tunnels. The sounds weren't quite human to rhythmic, to be random cave acoustics, but too alien to be voices. When Mills examined the final chamber they reached that day, she found something that made her blood run cold. Dozens of personal items from missing persons cases spanning decades. Driver's licenses, jewelry, children's toys, and photographs. All arranged in the same precise patterns as Emma's film canisters. The Peterson family wasn't the first to disappear into these caves. Based on the evidence Mills was finding, they might not be the last. As the team prepared to retreat for the day, Mills heard something that would haunt her for weeks. The faint sound of a child crying, echoing from somewhere deep in the mountain where no human should be able to survive. The second day of cave exploration brought Mills and her team face to face with the truth that challenged everything they thought they knew about the Peterson family disappearance. Following the sound of crying that Mills had heard, They descended deeper into the mountain until they reached a vast underground chamber that defied geological explanation. The cavern was enormously the size of a football stadium and filled with what could only be described as a primitive but functioning settlement. Makeshift shelters constructed from cave formations and salvaged materials lined the walls, connected by pathways that showed decades of use. "My God," whispered Dr. Torres. "How many people are down here?" They got their answer when figures began emerging from the shadows. Men, women, and children, all wearing clothes that spanned different eras, some in 1960s hiking gear, others in 1980s camping attire, and yes, Mark and Linda Peterson in the same clothes they'd worn 10 years ago. But something was profoundly wrong. The underground dwellers moved with an odd, shuffling gait, and their eyes reflected the flashlight beams like animals. When they spoke, their voices had a hollow, echoing quality that made Mill's skin crawl. "Welcome," said a man who appeared to be in his 50s but wore a park ranger uniform from the 1970s. "I'm former Ranger Thompson. We've been waiting for you to find us." Emma Peterson emerged from behind one of the shelters, but she was no longer the 14-year-old girl from the photos. She had grown into a young woman, but her development seemed stunted, her movements unnaturally quick and jerky. "They take care of us here," Emma said, her voice carrying that same hollow echo. "The Guardians protect us from the surface world. We're safe down here." Mills tried to approach Emma, but the girl recoiled. "Emma, your family has been looking for you. We're here to take you home. Home." Emma laughed, a sound that had no humor in it. "This is home now. The surface world is poisoned, dangerous. The Guardians showed us the truth." As Mills' team was led deeper into the underground settlement, they began to understand the horrifying scope of what they'd discovered. The cavern system housed nearly 60 people who had disappeared from various national parks over the past 70 years. All of them claimed to have been rescued by entities they called the Guardians. "Show them," Emma said to someone behind her. "Show them why we can't leave." What emerged from the deeper tunnels defied rational explanation. The creatures were tall, roughly humanoid, but clearly not human. Their skin had a translucent quality that revealed dark circulatory systems beneath, and their movements were fluid in a way that suggested their joints worked differently than human anatomy. "We preserve," one of the creatures spoke, its voice a harmonic vibration that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "The surface brings destruction. We gather the lost, protect them, give them purpose." Dr. Torres was documenting everything with his camera. But Mills noticed that the Guardians didn't appear properly in the photos. They came out as blurred shapes that hurt to look at directly. The missing persons reports, Mills realized. "You've been taking people for decades." "We take only those who are already lost," the Guardian replied. "Those who wander too far from safety, who seek what others cannot provide, we offer them continuation." Tyler Peterson appeared, now 21, but with the same hollow look as the others. "They saved us from dying in the cold," he said matter-of-factly. "We would have frozen that first night if they hadn't brought us here." But Captain Wright had been analyzing the settlement while the others talked. "Detective Mills," he whispered urgently, "look at the food sources, the water system. This isn't sustainable for human life. These people should have died years ago." Mills understood what he meant. The underground dwellers weren't quite human anymore. Whatever the Guardians had done to preserve them had changed them fundamentally. They were alive, but not in any way that could be called natural. The revelation that the Peterson family and dozens of others had been transformed into something between human and Guardian created an impossible dilemma for Mills and her team. The missing people were alive, but bringing them to the surface might kill the man they showed no desire to leave their underground existence. "We can't just leave them here," Mills argued during an emergency meeting at the cave entrance. "These are American citizens who are reported missing. They have families who deserve to know what happened. But they're not the same people who disappeared," Dr. Torres countered. "Whatever process the Guardians used to preserve them has altered their biology. Emma Peterson isn't the 14-year-old girl who vanished. She's something else wearing Emma's memories." The debate was interrupted when Emma herself appeared at the cave entrance, moving with that unsettling fluid grace that characterized all the underground dwellers. Behind her came Mark and Linda Peterson, their eyes reflecting light like nocturnal animals. "We came to say goodbye," Emma announced. "The Guardians are moving deeper. This entrance will be sealed again, permanently." This time, Linda Peterson looked at Mills with an expression that was almost human. "Tell my sister we're at peace. Tell her we found something better than the life we lost." "You're not Linda Peterson," Mills said desperately. "You're wearing her face, her memories, but you're not her." "I'm what Linda Peterson became," came the reply. "I'm what she chose to become when the alternative was death." As the underground dwellers retreated into the cave, Mills made a split-second decision. She followed them, leaving her radio and equipment behind. Determined to document the truth about what was happening in the depths, what she found in the deepest chambers was a vast network of guardian cities that extended throughout the Appalachian mountain chain. Thousands of preserved humans working alongside the creatures in a society that had existed parallel to surface civilization for centuries. Epilogue Detective Sarah Mills was declared missing after her radio went silent during the cave exploration. Her team reported that she had last been seen following the Peterson family into the depths, and despite extensive searches, no trace of her was ever found. The cave entrance was sealed with military-grade explosives, officially due to geological instability. All records of the expedition were classified, and the families of the missing were told that their loved ones had been found deceased in a cave-in. But Jake Morrison, the college student who had found Emma's camera, received an unexpected package 1 year later. Inside was a new disposable camera with a note for those ready to see the truth. "The choice is always yours. SM, the photos." On that camera showed Detective Mills in guardian robes, her eyes reflecting light in the darkness, standing beside Emma Peterson in what appeared to be a vast underground library. Both women appeared healthy and content, but unmistakably changed. The final photo was a message written in the sand. "Some disappearances aren't tragedies, some are transformations. Always watching, always ready to preserve those who are truly lost." Jake never developed those photos publicly, but he kept them as evidence of a truth that the surface world wasn't ready to accept, that beneath America's national parks lay an ancient civilization that had been quietly rescuing the lost for generations. It's offering them a choice between death and transformation into something beyond human understanding. The Peterson family case was officially closed, but their story became a legend among cave explorers and conspiracy theorists who whispered about the guardians and the underground cities where the missing found a different kind of life one that lasted far longer than anything the surface world could offer. Asterisk, a disposable camera buried in the woods. A trail gone cold for a decade. A family declared dead, yet never found. The mystery of the Petersons isn't just tragic, it's unsettling. What do you think happened that day in Shenandoah National Park? Was it a tragic accident or something much darker, still hidden beneath the trees? Leave your thoughts, theories, and even wild speculations in the comments. We read every one of them. And if you want to keep exploring the unexplained with us, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Gone Cold, because every cold case deserves to be reopened.